afternoon, everybody. And thank you, Esquire, for inviting me to this afternoon session. And well done to everybody who is signing in to join. I'm going to start by wishing all the women the world over in Nigeria, in the Nigerian bar, a happy International Women's Day. I am particularly delighted that a day should be taken out to support women, to celebrate the achievements of women, but really we should be celebrating or celebrated every single day and not just on the International Women's Day. I believe that women are unique. We bring the unique value to the table, undeniable, and we should be celebrated daily. But anyway, happy International Women's Day. And so why was it important that a day be set apart to celebrate women? And it speaks to the root of the topic we're going to be discussing today, which is basically trying to see, or the theme of International Women's Day today, which we all know is about breaking the bias. So if there was no bias, there will be perhaps no International Women's Day to celebrate, so one thing flows into the another. And it's really unfortunate that we are where we are in today's in the world today. So the topic up for discussion is closing the gender gap in technology, empowering the next generation of women. And the subtopic I've been asked to speak to is in relation to how women in tech can actually strike a balance between their personal and their professional life. So I'm not going to delve into the whole arena of what tech law is, what the statistics are, but I will gloss over it. We all know about STEM. And the reason why STEM was introduced or had a focus for I guess, the students in school or women in general, and of course, STEM stands for science, tech, engineering, and math, was that the statistics showed year in, year out, that there were fewer ladies or girls than men actually taking these STEM subjects in school. And if you know anything about the tech world, you will know that at the foundation of every technological advancement or industry is those key subjects, which is the sciences. So it was found that very few women or girls were participating in STEM. And so what did we do? We now started giving a quota to women to be able to ensure that they do actually take these subjects seriously. But it goes on. If there are fewer children, women studying STEM in school, then obviously it naturally follows that there are fewer women championing technological corporations and businesses the world over, and Nigeria is no exception. And so whilst there have been a few that we could mention, have delved into it, I mean, I've got their names here, and I'm sure that Nta will speak more about it, but it is worrisome that the statistics are skewed in one direction, that there's a mental and let's call it unconscious bias against women, and the bro culture reigns strong, that there are fewer opportunities for women in terms of the type of careers that can be formed, even in the tech space, is very, very disheartening. When you look at all the statistics, and I'm sure that the other speakers will probably speak to this, I've got a few of them here. I don't know whether I should mention some of them. It says, according to a UNESCO study, the Institute of Statistics, it says women in science, there are 30% less women in science than men. Do you understand? It's just terrible. And even in the STEM fields, only 7% of women are choosing to study engineering, and all that, compared to men that is at 22%. So what can we do? What can we do? How do women, and one of the main reasons why we say fewer women are in tech is the issue of the many hats that a woman wears. A woman wears so many hats and juggles so many balls in life. And no wonder that at the end of the day, a lot of us don't stay the course of remaining in a career, So let us look at it. These biases, where did they come from? And how can we strike this balance between our work life and indeed our personal life? Before I delve into, I have 15 points that I want to share with you today, what women can do. But before I get there, let us look at where it all started from. Why this bias? Why is it that women get the rough end of the stick? What are these biases that we actually always encounter as female professionals? I mean, I think it was a year ago or maybe 2 years ago, it made the rounds. There were these flyers with female MDs of banks in Nigeria, and women all over Nigeria were celebrating that we had 5 female CEOs or female MDs. Oh, what a shame. What a shame that we should be celebrating something that should be natural. Why is it a big deal that women become MDs of banks if they are competent? The same celebration doesn't go around when men become MDs of banks. So why are we celebrating it? It just shows that there's an endemic inequality in the world today, and Nigeria is no exception. Neither is the legal profession. Imagine that the first SAN in Nigeria that was a woman was made in 1981. 1981, that's just yesterday. So how can we change these stereotypical biases? Well, back to the drawing board. How does it happen? Where did it come from? I'm going to read something for you, and it's a poem that I stumbled across from a senior member of the bar, and I'm going to read it for you, and it tells the whole story. I don't know the author of the poem. I didn't write it myself, but the person who wrote it was spot on, and I think it explains in detail exactly what it is we're suffering from and facing in the world today. So it says, the family picture on his desk. A solid, responsible family man, they would say. But the family picture on her desk, be careful, her family will come before her career. His desk is cluttered. He's obviously a hard worker and a very busy man. Her desk is cluttered. She's obviously a disorganized scatterbrain. He's talking with his co-workers. He must be discussing the latest deal. She's talking with her co-workers. Don't mind her, she must be gossiping. He's not at his desk. He must be in a meeting. She's not at her desk. She must be in the ladies' room. He's not in the office. He's out meeting customers. She's not in the office. She must be out shopping. He's having lunch with the boss. He's on his way up. A promotion is coming. She's having lunch with the boss. They must be having an affair. The boss criticized him.
Okay, I think it's from our network, so we just hold on for her to connect back.
They get the backlash that goes with it. Am I speaking to someone here today? And this is not only in tech, this is in every industry, across all careers, across all businesses. This is the stereotypical bias that exists against women. And it's so apt that the theme for today is to break the bias. let's try and break this bias. Let us try indeed to, sorry, I'm just looking at, let's analyze it and see what we can do to make it better. So when women are being trained, even myself included, and I have to consciously ensure that I do not follow the same trend, which is that women are, the girl child is trained with her dolls, sweeping sets. You understand? The set you used to sweep in the house, you know, the dustpan and brush, baby doll and baby bottle to be feeding the child. And what are all those other toys? Is whole clothes to be changing the baby, and ironing board. Yes, those are the toys that we get. But for the boy child, and so we learn as women to nurture and to protect and to look after. You understand? And I dare say when we're looking after everybody else, a lot of the time we forget to look after ourselves. You know, and then for the boy child, it's all about the gun, toy gun, aeroplane, you know, car, fast car, train, you know, and they're not nurturing, and they just learn to cater for themselves. And they learn it very early, so that when they enter the business world, it's all about them, and they're forging ahead, you know, with that one singular goal. And women also, having been nurtured not to ask for yourself or to advocate for yourself, you're content with that, whatever comes your way. You don't even consider that you should even ask for a promotion. I suffered for this myself in my 30-year career. I never used to ask for anything, but all that has changed. Because what happens is that when women advocate on behalf of themselves, they are penalized for it. There's something called the backlash, and I'll talk about it after now. A classic example of the backlash is the gender bill that was rejected by the National Assembly. And the main point was that, you know, women, we didn't recognize that there is a way and a manner in which to advocate on behalf of yourself in order to get the result you want. That the stereotypical biases are so deep-rooted that even though it is an established fact that on all the points being presented before the National Assembly, all of them will help the economy, will help the country move forward, and will help with advancement, that was overtaken by that stereotypical bias. Let's give them 20%. No, we'll give them this one, we won't give them this one. Or no. Then women, the superwoman syndrome is a problem. Superwoman syndrome, where we feel we can do everything. Everything a man can do, I can do. So you're the mother, you're the wife, you're the teacher, do lesson teacher, you drop the children in the school, you know, you go to work on top of it, then you come back and you're slowly dying in the process. If it's a man, you know, I say there's no, what do you call it? No Robin to the woman's Batman. If you know about Batman and Robin, there's a second in Nigerian palace. Every man has a second. No, the women have no second. You're the do all and be all. And then in the process, you lose yourself. So what am I saying to that? And then there's the women leaders that, you know, by the time you have shown yourself to be a strong woman, they leave you to your own devices, and there's no help that comes to, you know, no help comes because you have been seen as someone who can do it all. She says she can do it, let her do it. You know, there's so many things. What do women face in the workplace? Discrimination. And one of the main reasons, especially women in tech, I mean, the statistics are appalling, and I'm sure the other speakers are going to speak to these issues. It's the childbearing ages. Because really and truly in school, the same number of men and women actually graduate from school. I think in terms of the censuses and the statistics the world over, men and women are about 50-50%. Indeed, women might even be slightly higher percentage than men. And we graduate fine, you know. Sometimes women win all the prizes. When I was in the law school in 1991, it was a woman that won, a girl, won all the prizes in school. It wasn't me, unfortunately. You know, and then so we enter the workforce, fine. There's no problem there. So we all enter about starting level. But then as you start going up, somehow, at some point, you see the men start rising faster than the women. And that's usually at the point when the woman gets married. So she transits from being a woman, a girl, into being a wife. Then suddenly the children start coming, and then maybe fewer opportunities come her way. But the truth is that by the time you reach this mid-level, going to the senior level, the men have taken a step ahead. And so when the opportunity for the senior roles come, there are very few women that can be elevated. And that's the battle we need to fight. The battle that we should even be rewarded for carrying the life that will carry on in planet Earth and not be penalized for it. In fact, there are organizations that don't hire women because, they say you will take maternity leave. But ingrained in every constitution of most nations in the world is the fact that you should not be discriminated against based on gender. What are all those things? Particularly childbirth, you should not be penalized, but the reality is totally different. By the time you return from maternity leave, they've given a man the role you're supposed to have had or the opportunities to go somewhere. I fought this very early in my career. I always tell this story about how I carried my breast pump to the UK for a conference so that when I come back, I can continue breastfeeding my daughter because I wanted to be a career woman and I wanted to be a mother at the same time. And I wasn't willing to compromise on either of those roles. And so if you continue, my apologies to any men on here today, but you all have mothers, you have sisters, and some of you have daughters. So if you continue expressing the milk as a mother, the milk will continue to flow. So I traveled with my breast pump. I expressed the milk. And when I came back, I wanted to do the 6 months breast milk only. I came back and I put my baby to the breast and she continued sucking. So I was very determined very early on in my career to have the best of both worlds. And to the glory of God, I am still moving ahead. The children are doing well, and all that. The career is going on well. But it takes a determination and focus and clarity to get to the place where you know what you want. And so even as I go ahead, because I think I have just 20 minutes, I'm going to give you at least maybe we'll get to 10. I have about 15 or 20 things I think a woman in tech should be doing to ensure that she achieves this balance between her work and her life. And this balance, ladies and gentlemen who may be here, balance is subjective. So when I talk about balance, they say, can you achieve a work-life balance? I don't know about if you can, but I know that it's a process. And in the process, you'll find the sweet spot somewhere. So for me, balance is like this. So this is, hope you can see me. So yes, let's put it like this. So balance means either you're going out of balance this way or you're going out of balance the other way. So the sweet spot is somewhere here in the middle. So I say you strive for a work-life balance. It's whether you say you can or you say you can't, you're correct in achieving this balance, because it's about taking constant measurement of where you are. So if you find that your let's call it your, what is it, this a ruler, is leaning to one side or your life is leaning to one, you quickly course correct. You understand? So it will continue to be like a pendulum of balance. So what can women do? The very first point here I'd like to say is that it's not always about gender. So as women, we have to always be certain that we're not only always playing the gender card, that you have what it takes to move ahead, that you are efficient, you are trained, you are knowledgeable, and when you open your mouth and speak, that you are speaking sense. Because you can't always come on the point of gender. It's because I'm a woman that I'm discriminated against. It has to be more than that. It has to be that you're the best woman for the job. When Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala got that, when there was some talk around whether or not she will get that position, her track record spoke for her. The achievements she had made in her career spoke for her. Nobody could dispute the fact that she was a fantastic candidate for the job in question. So my question to you today is, are you the best woman for the job? Have you honed your skills to the extent that they will have no option but to take you, that you make them gender blind. They don't recognize whether you're a man or a woman. That's the state you need to get to. Whether it means you train, do extra training and not wait for your law firm or your organization to train you, but indeed you go out of your way to ensure that you have the knowledge that you need in order to give the value that you need. My second point is that we should recognize that we can't do it on our own. So we should ask for help always. Just as I was given an opportunity to travel abroad in my organization, and my baby was 4.5 months old, I asked for help. And that help is I brought my mother to Lagos to come and stay in my house and look after my daughter. I always say there are 3 stuff every woman should have once you get married, because usually the work-life balance comes into play or striving for that balance when you're married and the children have come. You must always have a nanny, you must have a cook, and you must have a driver. These 3 are non-negotiable if you want to achieve any level of success in your life and in your career, or to have that balance. Because the husband will need his food cooked, the children need attention, and the driver ain't going through the traffic 2 hours going and 2 hours coming back every day. You get old before your time. So these 3, no matter what your salary is, at your own level, as you can afford it, try and invest in these 3 stuff for yourself. And help isn't only in the form of staff. Help can be from your colleagues in the office. Develop a network that can stand in for you when you can't be there, that can do the things that need to be done when you're not there. Joined to the training would be to keep a victory log, because we have this imposter syndrome. Women suffer from it, men do too, but for women, it's really, really bad. When we feel that we're not good enough, the inner critic tells us we're not good enough for the job. And you see women training, doing so many training, you have so many certificates, yet you still don't feel you're good enough. The statistics that Harvard Review ran some years ago showed that men are the ones who will apply for a job even when they don't have the training or the, let's say, certificate to go with it. Or the women that are overqualified will not even apply. So learn to silence the inner critic, and how to silence it is to keep what I call a victory log. And that victory log is anything you have done where you've been a success, note it down, because our memory plays tricks on us. We don't always remember when we have done something really, really important, or we trivialize it. It's other people that sometimes are able to tell us that, wow, you've done well. We reduce the achievements that we have made consciously and unconsciously. And so it's important to keep track of those achievements, so that when that inner critic and imposter syndrome raises its head, I bring out my victory log and I say, you did this, and you did that, and you succeeded here, and you succeeded there, and it gives you confidence to forge ahead. I also say that the people you surround yourself with matter. You see, because they say we're the sum total of the 5 closest people that we have around us. Because as human beings, there's something called mimicking. We always mimic people around us. You see, if somebody yawns near you, you yawn too. If you have someone around you that uses a particular phrase, you start using that phrase. That's how you differentiate psychopaths from normal human beings, because they don't mimic anybody. You understand? So it's important that the people you have around you in your network are people who have maybe done the things you want to do, or who encourage you, or who challenge you, and who you hold you accountable for the things you say you will do. This segues very nicely into getting a mentor. Get a mentor, someone you look up to. When I was a young lawyer, there was this woman, and the mentor can be someone who is mentoring you from afar. It doesn't have to be formal. I had, when I was just straight out of school, there was this woman in the building where we worked. To tomorrow, she doesn't know the impact she had on my life and how my career has gone. She was always so well put together, her shoes, her bag, her clothes, and I love clothes. I just loved the way she was. But the important thing about her is she didn't just look good. She was intelligent. So it was beauty and brains. And I've had that at the back of my mind that no matter how pretty I am, if I'm daft inside, it goes to no issue. So you must be able to be, have the stuff inside you, the training we talked about, be efficient, know your work, you understand? So that when you open your mouth and speak, people will listen. I also think that we need to consciously create a brand around ourselves. I mean, the word personal branding has been bantered around a while, and women do very poorly in that regard, whereas men intentionally do this, even unconsciously. Women have to develop a personal brand, and a personal brand is really the perception that the public has of who you are and what you can achieve. It's the art of positioning yourself as an expert in a particular field, such that when an opportunity arises in that area, you're the first person to come to. In fact, you're the only choice. So how do you do that? You have to be visible. You need to network appropriately. You need to position yourself in the places where the opportunities are. You need to get ready beforehand so that when the opportunities come, you're not just scurrying to do your CV, or you're not just trying to up your LinkedIn profile, or that you haven't even done one public speaking engagement anywhere. You haven't written a book or written any thought leadership, on any topic of interest. Use these tools. There's traditional media, there's social media, there's your dressing, how you present as a person. All these things come together to create the brand you. But that brand you must be authentic to who you are. It has to be authentic to what your core values are and what are important to you. Another place where women fail is negotiation. Like I said, when we're trained, when we're growing up, we learn to advocate for other people, but we don't advocate for ourselves. And unfortunately, when we do advocate on behalf of ourselves, we are penalized for it because it is felt that that is counter-stereotypical. Women should not negotiate on their own behalf. They should negotiate for people. And so many examples, of research. I think there's one from Stanford University that did a, what do they call it? It was an experiment anyway, where someone applied for a job. A man and a woman applied for the same job, were asked the same questions about the job, and they made both of them negotiate for higher pay. And at the end of the day, the man was seen as a go-getter, as very likable, as very smart and intentional, whilst the woman was seen as unlikable, selfish, self-centered, and not someone they wanted to work with. And those statistics, the exact same questions, the same people were interviewed, the man and the woman, it's unbelievable, but that's the truth. So they say that women have to deploy I take a course on negotiation at a women's leadership academy. And this was the research I found. So there's certain things we can do to ensure that when we negotiate, we do it in a way that the irrefutable end of the discussion will be in our favor. Learn to set boundaries, ladies. We have to set boundaries. Women suffer from overwhelm because they don't know how to say no. I learned from a coach recently that it doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be done. I was having a discussion with my husband some years ago where he said, I was asking him that maybe if we can get like 90%, he said 70% is okay. It doesn't have to be perfect. I learned a long time ago that it didn't need to be perfect. And I focused on the things in terms of trying to achieve balance. I mean, my family is very important to me, don't get me wrong. Imagine what would have driven me to carry my breast pump to London, but even in looking for that balance, it doesn't have to be perfect. Strive for perfection. Sometimes it immobilizes us and makes us not take action. But once you take the first step, your body will follow. So just learn to do it and do it afraid. I think the last point is really about our health. I say this all the time, you know, women, sometimes we forget to take care of ourselves, but we need to step back sometimes from everything happening around us, even the work, you know, the workplace and all whatnot. Step back and look after yourself. Your mental and your physical health and well-being is paramount to you being able to scale in business and in your career. If you don't do that, balance can never be achieved. We have to actually consciously look for time. I call it thinking time, where you step away for a little bit to be able to think, to be able to plan, to be able to, you know, take care of those things that are ultimately important to you achieving the balance in your professional and your personal life. I'm looking at the clock and I can see that my time is up, but it's really nice to be here today, and I am open to any questions that you may have. Thank you, Esquire, for having me.
Thank you so much, Ma. The questions will be after everyone's presentation. So the next speaker will be speaking on the fundamentals of tech and the career prospects for women in tech in the 21st century. Over to you, Ma.
Okay, that's fine.
Hello?
Okay, hi. Is that for me or for Bukola?
Yes, for you.
Okay, so fundamentals of tech. I will just speak to what goes on, you know, right now in the tech space, especially as it relates to women. I hope you can all hear me. I've been fortunate enough to work with a few tech startup ladies in tech startups, you know, the likes of Bamboo, the likes of Piggyverse, and most of these tech founders. And what I have found and what I see is that it is the same, it's more like the same principles that you apply in everyday life is what actually applies in this sector. There's really no hard and fast rule about it. The most important things, which is how do you get your business to grow, which is you have to be a diligent person, you have to be an organized person, you have to know what you want, you have to, you really have to know what you want and go for it. Ms. Okrocha is my mentor, you know, from afar. She's someone that I look up to and I follow, you know, wherever she is. And she has basically said everything that I had written down, you know, to say. But what I'm going to, yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, Bukola, you would agree with me that we're not going to really have, she's actually done the job for us because I guess for us, we're going to be speaking from this generation, you know, and she has actually set the tone and has said everything that you need to know, because it's the same principles that apply in everyday life and in every other sector that applies to tech. So I've been fortunate to be around most of the, you know, the tech people that have succeeded in raising funds for, you know, their tech startup. And there's one thing that I have seen that is consistent with all of them, is that they are not afraid. They're not afraid, you know, you don't go there thinking small. You don't go there, you know, you really don't go there thinking that you don't have a space in the room. You know, a man would come and tell you that he's looking for $1 million. A woman would go there and say, oh, please, if I even have 10, if you can even just give me $10,000, I'll be okay. No, the one trait that applies to all of these women is that they were bold. They were not afraid. They went and they asked for what they needed and even much more, because you find that when you are bold and when you are not afraid, you know, to ask for what you need, you will get much more. So I guess one of the fundamentals of thriving in that space is that you can't play small, you can't think small, you have to be confident in yourself, because what's the worst that can happen? You tell you no, you fail, you go back and you come back again. And that's what a man, that's what's obtainable in a man's world. So why can't you women do the same thing? So the most important thing is know yourself, have your own voice. And like Mr. Okracha said, it's you have to know that you have to have built yourself to a level where you are intelligent, you know your stuff. So Mr. Okracha is known, in the same space that I am known in. And if you call her name, everybody knows the sector that she is in. If you call my name, everybody knows the sector that I'm in. And that it's supposed to be that you have built expertise in one area and everybody knows you in that area. That's the principle of building a brand for yourself. So imagine if you call Ife Durosinieti today, everybody knows the sector she plays in. If you call the ladies in Piggyvest, everybody knows the sector, and that shows that you have consistently over the years build expertise in that sector, and it is non-negotiable. I think that for me, I'm just going to be repeating everything that Ms. Okracha has said, and I'm not going to do that. But the things that are very important to me from what she has said is, having that log where you have your successes. Yes, the imposter syndrome is everywhere. It's everywhere, and I actually speak to it for myself. I used to be, when I started my career in a big firm, then I went to a small firm and I started my own practice. And then, on some days I wake up in the morning and I'm thinking, am I doing the right thing? Am I doing, but in keeping a log of my clients and what my clients have said to me the other day, oh, it's fantastic, well done, So every time I go through that phase, I take out these things and I look at it. And I also surround myself with people who every day are encouraging me and saying to me, you're doing a great job, you did it well this time, okay, this is where you need to change, this is where you need to tweak here a little here and there. So those are the ones that are, that really resonates with me. And it is the same principles for anybody in any sector, including tech. There is nothing difficult about being in this space. It is the same thing. It's the same way with, even if you were cooking and you want to be a great chef, it is being in tech it's the same thing. You have to be diligent. You have to put in your all. You have to train. You have to do all of those things. So it's the same fundamentals. There is no hard and fast. It's not rocket science. Even rocket science is relatable. So there's really, but you have to just take away that fear from your mind and know that you can do it. Do not play small and just keep going. So I guess I will just hand over now to Bukola if there's anything, because like I said, Mr. Okracha has said it all, and I totally agree. And these are principles that I have seen in her life. And these are principles that, I also apply in my life, and I'm sure Bukola applies in her life, and everybody who is successful applies in their life. So I'll just leave it to Bukola to, continue and take it on from here.
Okay, thank you so much. So over to you, Bukola.
Okay. Hello, everyone. It's so good to see you. And honestly, the work is already done between Mrs. Okracha and Nta. Everything has been said. I'm just also going to add a few more points. Like, I'm going to emphasize on some of the things that they have said. There was something that the previous speaker said, and she said, tech is like any other industry, it's like any other. You cannot look at the word technology and let it, you can't look at it and let it put you off. You can't put that word in a wall and block yourself outside of it. Like, just look at it like any other industry. You know, for lawyers especially, and I know we may have a few lawyers on this call, it's the way we look at mathematics and calculations, and you're just like, okay, lawyers are not so good at that. And then before you know it, you are not applying yourself. So even the little things we should know, we start looking for calculators to calculate them. So you want to look at that word technology and demystify it and ensure that you actually look at it in the simplest of terms. Why does the word technology exist? It's because there are platforms that can be used to simplify the way we live. There are things that the engineering stuff that can be used to make life easier for people. So if you are someone that you're not in tech, but you want to be in tech, the first question is, what solutions do you have to offer? What solutions, what issues, what problems am I seeing that technology will bridge the gap for? And if you are able to find that, you may not even know anything about technology, but you can build the right team around yourself and actually create a tech product. It's like the piggy vest people that Nta mentioned. You know, we all used to save our monies in piggy banks. And then we used to have like savings accounts in banks that you just put the money there. The interest may just be like 0.0001. And then PiggyVest comes and they say, oh, you can save your money. You can have a larger percentage of interest. You can have money deducted from your account, direct deduction, different solutions. So if you have a product that you think can offer solutions to the society, then you want to find out, how can I make it easier for people? I mean, everything that I do, I try to put that in, even processes that are already working. You want to look at them and you want to say, how can we simplify this process further? So for instance, one of the things that we do in iFitness is that we have an app that helps you to check in, but I don't use it just to check in. At the end of the month, I look at my calendar on the app. It shows me how many times I've been to, I hope we can hear me. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, you can.
Thank you. So I look at the app, it's telling me how many times I've been to the gym. So I'm not using it just to sign in, I'm using it to monitor my progress, to monitor my compliance to what I've told myself that I will do. So it is what it is. You use technology to simplify life. And when you look at it like that, then you know that it is a field that should be open to all of us. It shouldn't be just for one person or two people. I have a journaling app. I just, you know, I love journaling, and I have products, books that I've already created around it, courses that I've created around it. And then I said, the next thing is an app, because it's not everybody that writes in books anymore. And then, you know, the app helps you, you have it on your phone, you're moving around, you're able to journal, you're able to write things about, you're able to reflect and understand yourself. So for people who are actually scared of tech, I felt that we should start from there to know that, look, it is a field that is open to all of us, and whatever we don't understand, we just get experts to teach us and to show us. So if also you want to work in tech, so you don't necessarily want to have a product, but you want to work in tech, it is the same principles of saying, how does this industry work? Who are the people who are currently leading in the industry? And, you know, let them mentor you from afar. Just like the two speakers ahead of me have said, be mentored from afar. Success always leaves trails. You cannot say, oh, I don't know how they did it. Find out how they did it. Success leaves trails. The people you call your mentors, the people you call your role models, have you read their biographies? Have you read their profiles? Let's even leave biographies, it's far. Have you read their profiles? Have you seen their CVs? What courses did they take? What certifications do they have? What speaking engagements have they given? Have you gone to listen to the things that they posted, maybe on YouTube or on LinkedIn? Are you actually following? Because it is one thing to say, oh, this person is my mentor. It's another thing to actually be mentored by them, either from afar or on a one-on-one basis. And that leads me to another point that I would like to make today, is the fact that you need mentors. You need.
Hi, darling. How are you?
We can hear you. So you need mentors, but you also need sponsors. Guys get this thing. Guys get it. So many times they're hanging out in the evenings, they're trying to have drinks together, they're going out together, they have access to sponsors. And sponsors are people who can mention your name in closed rooms and say, give her an opportunity. She will do it well. Your sponsor would have maybe at some point mentored you because they're sort of putting their credibility on you. So you must be free with them to the extent that if you're working together, you're able to prove your worth to them. And I like what Mrs. Okorocha said earlier, that we should not be playing the gender card. You should, as much as possible, I mean, we all know already that women have to work extra hard to be credited. You have to work almost double your male counterpart before you can be credited with anything. So you work hard. You don't play the gender card. You're not trying to slip out of work. You're not trying to give excuses. Of course, when there are genuine excuses, you give them. But if you have a track record of being a great worker, a great team player, a solution provider, the times when you are going to need to take an excuse, you will be given. I remember one of the times when I had to travel for work, and the bank was going to sponsor me, as the bank I was working with was going to sponsor me to South Africa for a training. And we're going to create a new job function, a desk in the department. So I had to go to meet my boss, and I was like, actually, I'm pregnant. I wasn't showing yet, but I needed him to know that, look, I'm going to take maternity leave at some point. I'm going to have to, go for antenatal and all of that. And you're trying to set up this new desk. It's going to require a lot of work. I know I can do the work. I will do the work, but I also need you to know that this is where I am at the moment. And, he just looked at me and he just smiled. He said, I know. I was like, oh, okay. I didn't know. I'm not sure. But of course, he has children. So obviously he knew what was he knew. That was just it. But I still went for the training. I headed the desk, and it was a huge success, even though I say so myself. So you must be able to put your best foot forward at all times. You must be able to, if you have done a great job, you must be able to own it and say, I did a great job on this. In my slides, when they're sent, one of the jokes on my slides, he says that, thank you, like people were sitting together, and he says, thank you for that suggestion, lady. Now let one of the guys suggest it so that we can use it. So oftentimes, and guys do this unconsciously, it's because of the way, like Mrs. Okorocha had said, they were brought up. Many guys were taught to go for what they need and ignore everybody else. So you literally find out at meetings sometimes that a lady makes a suggestion, a guy repeats the same thing, and then maybe the person that is heading the meeting says, we would thank you for that suggestion, Mr. ABC. And everybody conveniently forgets that it was the lady that said it. You should always insist on being recognized for your contributions. And it is not in trying to be aggressive. It is also the same wisdom, the same wit that they used to try to snatch it. You snatch it by, oh, actually, I suggested it before he said it. And then you can send an email to make your suggestions, at least in the mail trail, everybody can see it. And then when you now offer that, oh, I've made this suggestion, I would like to be the one to implement it, it will be very tough for anyone to snatch that from you. And again, there are unconscious biases. The biases that even you are biased against yourself and you are not aware of it, because society has conditioned us. We are just conditioned, everybody, one way or the other. If you have ever been told in a team meeting, maybe many guys are there and you are one of the few ladies there, and they ask you to please take the notes for us, or they ask you to organize somebody's birthday, or they ask you to organize tea and small chops for the meeting, you have been biased against yourself by not insisting that why can't somebody else, why me, you know, because they expect women to be nurturers and then they expect men to be leaders. But the moment, of course, when I'm in my home, I'm a nurturer. But when I get to my workplace, I'm a leader. I want to be a leader. So let's not mix things up. Yes, my nurturing side may come to play in the suggestions that I make and how we implement it. So it's not like we're shutting down that side of us, but do not label me completely and say this is all that I will be good for. So what happens then is that the male colleagues get taken to meetings, sent for trainings, sent abroad, and then sometimes they don't even ask the lady that is this an opportunity you are interested in. They say it for you. In your absence, they're like, oh, she just gave birth. I don't think she'll be able to travel. And this is you that has been slaving for years to build credibility and to get those opportunities. So it is time that we ourselves recognize our biases. And if you are, if a bias is going to happen against you, you should cut it short. You should recognize it there and then and cut it short. And then as women, we need to be together. We need to bunch together. If you see another woman being biased against, don't ignore. You know, statistics says that 30%, about 30% of women are at the entry level of tech. Then when you get to managerial level, these remaining 10%. Then at the very top, the leadership level, you have just 1%. And it is because we're not carrying ourselves along, we're not holding each other. Let's build our own tables, let's sit at it. Let's bring up women. You know the challenges, especially for people who have gone through these things. You know the challenges that you went through. I've had a stint with entrepreneurship, I've had a stint with coaching, I still do them, but I most recently returned back to 9 to 5. And it's been an experience. But if you know what you've been through, you can actually teach somebody about it and say, you will get to a point in life when all you actually want to do is take care of your children. Do not give in to that desire. Do not give in to that desire. Find support systems so that you can. And if you do give in to that desire, make sure you do things that keep you relevant. So there's social media, you already have experience. Keep talking about your experience, keep updating yourself, know the trends in your industry, be a thought leader, even from the confines of your own home. As you are breastfeeding that baby, be writing your blog, be writing the newest trend, the new law on tech, that they just be at the very top of things. So that if you do choose to come back, it's very easy for you to come back. So we must desire it. You must want it. You must have, there's something guys have, it's like a blind focus. They don't have to worry about the children, and they don't have to, they just blindly focus on that one thing and go after it. And we're multitaskers. It's the way we were wired. So we're multitaskers. When you are at work, focus on work. When you get back home, you can focus on home. But it is doable. We've seen people achieve it again and again. And the more people that we see achieving it, when we achieve it, we are literally giving credibility to it and telling the other person, look, this is possible and this is doable. So, I want to encourage us to keep breaking the bias. If you see this is my last thought on this. If you see the guys want to go and hang out and it is somewhere you're not comfortable with, sometimes it's a rowdy place and there are ladies that are dressed funny and you don't want to be mistaken, you should speak up and say, actually, this is a department, I'm a member of this team. Can we have the hangout somewhere else? So go for the hangouts, find relevant conversations, that the things they talk about, take an interest in them so that you can be a part of the conversation, and you just find out that it's not as difficult as it is. It's not as difficult as it is. And I want to wish us all the best. Thank you. And over to you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I think I have a question here. So the person said, is inclusion enough? Does just having greater number of women in the science, technology, and innovation ecosystem result in the future we want? I think that's for you, Mr. Koracha. Hello? Can anyone hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
I don't know if Mr. Koracha is still on the call, but it's how you can answer the question, please. Thank you.
Okay,
Should I
so
take the question?
yeah, I can see it from the Q&A
Okay.
section. To say if inclusion is enough, there's just having greater number of women in the ecosystem results in the future we want. Yes, inclusion is a great step in the right direction, because but is it enough? You can't just do, so it's like when you meet your trainer and your trainer will tell you that you can't spot train. You can't just say, okay, I want to lose my arms, so I'm going to train just that part. So we're going to just take it one step at the other. You do inclusion today. By the time you have a mass, you continue. There will be other things that will come up, and then we'll continue to build on it. But let us even start with the inclusion. Having more women in that space, telling women that, look, you don't have to. I tell my friends that even though that I wasn't great in maths and sciences, I would have been a medical doctor, I would have been a scientist, but maybe out of fear, and it was easier. Okay, let's do law, I love to read books, and those sort of things. So yes, inclusion, let's start with that. For me, it is, let's start with that. So Ms. Okrocha is here, so she'll just she'll continue.
Thank you so much. Mr. Koracha, you have a question?
Okay.
Okay, person is saying, is inclusion enough? Does just having greater number of women in the STI, that science, technology, and innovation ecosystem, result in the future we want?
Actually, no, it's not enough. It's endeavors like trying to change the law and regulation that are what is going to help us. So yes, getting more women and girls into the STEM or into tech is a good starting point. But if the enabling environment is not there to have the women soar, then they will continue to face the same biases that we're talking about and we're complaining about. So it has to be treated from the root. It's a cultural problem, but hope is in the horizon. Because if you think back to not too long ago, the About Women's Riot, for example, when women stood up, found their voices, and rejected the stereotype and bias that had subjugated them for so long, that some countries in the world actually have graduated, let's say, to allowing women to vote, a thing that perhaps they thought would never happen. Or coming to Nigeria, where there were no female SANs, but we have a couple now. So it's baby steps. Change is always difficult, but it's like, as we continue to chip away at the infrastructure and the status quo as it is, like the gender bill that was presented and was rejected on almost all fronts. But it shouldn't deter us. It should make us go back to the drawing board, come back even stronger, change policy, change regulations, insist on the affirmative action principles. Do you understand? So yes, just changing or increasing the number of women is not enough, but it's a start. But we have to do the other things that will ensure that the whole ecosystem around bias is dismantled. That's what will help us.
Thank you so much, Ma. Mrs. Bukola, would you like to say something to the question?
I mean, a lot has been said already. I just want to add that looking at those statistics, inclusion, we already have 30% of women, we want 50%. Whatever gave the men the audacity to think that they can decide what happens to us. So we definitely want our 50%, but we also want to have it all the way to the top. So the 20% should not dwindle to 10% and then to 1% at top. No, 50% all the way. That's what we want.
God will help us then.
Amen.
God will help us. That's all I'll say.
Okay, thank you so much. I think that's the only question we have. So rounding up today's webinar, I want to say a very big thank you to our panelists today. And it was really an insightful presentation and section today. Thank you so much. And a very big thank you to our sponsors, ALP, FarmView, JLIS & Co, Advocate Law Practice, Everlaw Associates, Bloomfield, DOA for making this webinar possible today. Thank you once more to our panelists for despite the busy schedule. We look forward to seeing you in our subsequent webinar. Also, thank you to our attendees for participating in today's webinar. Before we close today's webinar, because it's International Women's Day, we would like to do the sign, break the bias. So, we could say, I don't know, yeah, we could say something.
We said break the bias.
Yeah, okay, we could do that. Okay. Okay, let's 1, 2, 3. Break the bias.
Break the bias.
Break the bias.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Please do subscribe to our YouTube channel to watch our past webinars and more webinars. Thank you so much for attending today's webinar and to enjoy the rest of the day. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We learned a lot in this webinar. Thank you.
Thank
you.
Bye.